The Castellana Museum was never truly silent at night. After 6 months on security, I'd learned to distinguish harmless sounds from genuine threats. The footsteps echoing from the restricted East Wing were definitely a threat. I grabbed my flashlight and radio, moving through darkened galleries. The gala had ended hours ago. The East Wing was closed for renovation, steel barriers blocking entrance. Except one barrier stood ajar. "Jorge, possible intruder in East Wing," I whispered into the radio. Static answered. My hands trembled as I slipped through the gap. Light bled from beneath a door at the corridor's end. Not harsh emergency lighting, but warm and golden. Every instinct screamed to wait for backup. Instead, I crept forward and eased the door open. The room stole my breath. A makeshift studio dropcloth, easel, standing lamps, the sharp scent of oil paint thick in the air. And standing before the easel was a man who definitely didn't belong here. Tall, dark-haired, white shirt with rolled sleeves, paint smudged on his forearms. Even from behind, he radiated dangerous stillness. The painting showed a woman's face, half-finished, caught between sorrow and rage. "You're early," he said without turning, voice like dark honey over gravel. I wasn't expecting interruption for another 20 minutes. My mouth went dry. "This is restricted. You need to leave immediately, or You're what, Sophia-chan?" He set down his brush, then turned to face me. "Call security?" "You are security." My flashlight found his face, and the world tilted. Sharp angles and shadows, high cheekbones, a mouth suggesting cruelty and sensuality. But his eyes paralyzed, me dark, intelligent, utterly calm. "How do you know my name?" "I know everything about everyone who works in this museum." He stepped closer, paint on his hands like blood. "Just as I know you're wondering how I got past security, what I'm doing here, and whether you should run. Should I?" Something flickered in his expression. Almost approval. Probably. "But you won't." He was right. I should run, scream, anything except stand frozen, staring at the stranger. Then the gunshot started. 3 sharp cracks from the main hall, shouting, more gunfire, alarms wailing. The man transformed instantly from artist to predator. "Down!" He moved with shocking speed, pulling me to the floor as bullets punched through the door where I'd been standing. His body covered mine, solid and warm, smelling of paint and something expensive. "What's happening?" I gasped. "The Donovans." His voice was cold now. Worse timing than I anticipated. He pulled out his phone, spoke rapid Italian. Within seconds, 3 men in dark suits burst through the door, guns drawn. "Mr. Moretti," one said. "We need to move, now, Mr. Moretti." The name hit me like ice water. Luca Moretti, Chicago's most powerful crime lord. And I'd just walked in on him painting. "Bring her," Luca said, his hand iron around my wrist. "What?" "No, I'm not. They saw your face on cameras." His eyes locked with mine. "The Donovans know you found me here. You're either coming with me, or you're dead within the hour." "That's insane." "Marco, sedate her if necessary." Gently. Everything blurred, service corridors, an SUV with dark windows, Luca beside me, his hand never leaving my arm. I tried to memorize the route, but fear made everything fragment. I woke to dawnlight filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows I didn't recognize. Silk sheets whispered against my skin. My uniform was gone, replaced by soft pajamas. Standing by the windows, silhouetted against the Chicago skyline, was Luca Moretti. "Where am I?" My voice cracked. He turned. In morning light, he looked less like an artist and more like exactly what he was. A man who controlled empires built on blood. Somewhere safe. He moved toward the bed, each step measured. "You saw something you weren't supposed to see, Sophia. That painting, my presence in the museum, knowledge like that is dangerous. So you're going to kill me?" "No." He sat on the bed's edge, close enough that I could see paint still smudged on his wrist. "I'm going to keep you alive. Whether you like it or not, you can't just kidnap me. I just did." His voice was soft, final. The Donovans put a price on your head the moment their cameras caught you in that room. $500,000 for the girl who found Luca Moretti's secret. My blood turned to ice. I'm nobody. I don't know anything. I paint. He stood, returning to the window. You saw my face, my work, evidence that Chicago's most dangerous man has a weakness. He looked back, and the intensity in his gaze made my heart race. So, congratulations, Sophia Chun. You walked through the wrong door. He paused, something dark and possessive flickering in his eyes. And now you're mine to protect. The words hung heavy between us. Outside, Chicago sprawled beneath us, the city I'd lived in my entire life suddenly as foreign as the moon. I was trapped in a stranger's penthouse. A criminal's penthouse. And the worst part? The tiny, traitorous part of my brain that kept returning to the image of him before that easel, lost in creation, paint on his hands like a benediction. What had I stumbled into? And more terrifyingly, why wasn't I sure I wanted to escape? The bathroom was larger than my entire studio apartment. Marble counters, a rainfall shower that could fit 3 people, toiletries that probably cost more than my monthly rent. I splashed cold water on my face, gripping the sink edge until my knuckles went white. This wasn't happening. Couldn't be happening. I was Sophia Chun, museum security guard, graduate student. Nobody who mattered to anyone except maybe Mrs. Delgado. My thesis advisor and my roommate who'd wonder why I hadn't come home. I wasn't someone who got kidnapped by mafia bosses. When I emerged, a woman stood in the bedroom. Tall, dark-skinned, with sharp eyes and a shoulder holster visible beneath her black blazer. She assessed me the way a jeweler might assess a stone, clinical, thorough. I'm Isabella, she said. Mr. Moretti's head of security. I'll be your primary guard during the day. I don't need a guard. I need a phone and a way out of here. Her expression didn't change. Your phone is being monitored for tracking devices. Your apartment is under surveillance. 3 Donovan associates have been spotted within a 2-block radius. The words hit like physical blows. You're lying. This is some elaborate check for yourself. She handed me a tablet. The screen showed grainy surveillance footage. My apartment building, time stamp from 20 minutes ago. A black sedan parked across the street, 2 men inside, one raising binoculars toward my 3rd-floor window. My stomach dropped. They're waiting for you to come home, Isabella said quietly. Mr. Moretti saved your life last night. Whether you believe that or not doesn't change the facts. Then call the police. Half of them are on someone's payroll. You think involving them makes you safer? She took the tablet back. Breakfast is ready. Mr. Moretti asked that you join him. It wasn't a request. The dining room overlooked the city from what had to be at least 40 floors up. Morning sun painted Chicago gold, the skyline so beautiful it hurt. Luca sat at the head of a table set for 2, reading something on his phone, coffee steaming beside him. He'd changed into a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my car. The paint was gone from his hands. He looked every inch the powerful businessman, except for his eyes still that artist's eyes, seeing too much. Sit, he said without looking up. I'd rather stand. Now he looked at me, one eyebrow raised. You'd rather be difficult, you mean? I'd rather not be held prisoner by a criminal. Then we're both disappointed. I'd rather not have my evening interrupted by a curious security guard stumbling into gang warfare. He set down his phone, but here we are. I stayed standing, arms crossed. The Donovans, what do they want? What criminals always want. Power, money, territory. He poured coffee into the 2nd cup, the gesture somehow both casual and commanding. They've been trying to muscle into my operations for months. Last night, they attempted to steal from the museum a particular piece I've been guarding. What piece? That's not your concern. Anger flared hot in my chest. Not my concern? You've kidnapped me because of it. I've protected you. His voice dropped, dangerous and soft. There's a difference. Is there? I moved closer, fueled by fear and fury. Because from where I'm standing, I'm trapped in a stranger's penthouse. My life destroyed. My freedom gone. Your life isn't destroyed. He stood in one fluid movement. Suddenly, too close. It's complicated. Temporarily. How temporarily? Something flickered in his expression. As long as necessary. The non-answer made me want to scream. Instead, I asked the question that had haunted me since waking. That painting. The woman's face. Who was she? His jaw tightened. No one you need to know about. You were painting her in secret. In a museum after hours. That means something. It means I have interests beyond your understanding. He moved past me toward the door. Isabella will show you the penthouse. Stay in the East Wing. The West Wing is private. Your studio, I said, remembering fragments from last night. That's where you really paint, isn't it? He paused in the doorway, not turning back. Stay out of the West Wing, Sophia. That's not a request. Then he was gone, leaving me alone with cold coffee and questions that multiplied like shadows. Isabella gave me the tour. The penthouse was obscene in its luxury gym, library, theatre room, guest suites. The East Wing was mine to explore. The West Wing remained locked, forbidden, tempting. Why doesn't he want me over there? I asked as we passed the heavy double doors. Because that's where he keeps the parts of himself he doesn't show anyone. Isabella's tone suggested I shouldn't push further. But I couldn't help it. The painting at the museum. Who was the woman? Ask him yourself, if you dare. By evening I was climbing walls. I'd tried reading, couldn't focus. Tried the gym, felt too restless. My mind kept circling back to Luca, his hands on that brush, the concentration on his face, the way he'd covered my body with his when bullets flew, the way he'd said mine like it meant something permanent. At 2 a.m., unable to sleep, I heard it. Piano music. Classical melancholy, played with the kind of skill that suggested years of training. It drifted from somewhere in the West Wing, hauntingly beautiful. I slipped from my room, following the sound down the darkened hallway. The double doors stood slightly ajar, golden light spilling through the gap. My heart pounded as I approached. Through the opening I could see him, Luca, still dressed, but jacket discarded, playing a grand piano surrounded by easels and canvases. His eyes were closed, lost in the music, and for a moment he looked nothing like Chicago's most dangerous man. He looked like an artist imprisoned in the wrong life. The floorboard creaked under my foot. His eyes snapped open, locking onto mine through the gap. I told you, he said, his voice carrying across the space, to stay out of the West Wing. But he didn't tell me to leave, and I didn't move. We stared at each other across the threshold, something dangerous and electric crackling in the air between us. The woman in the painting, I whispered. Please, I need to understand why I'm here. Luca's hand stilled on the keys. For a long moment, silence stretched taut. Then, come inside, Sophia. But know that once you cross that threshold, there's no going back to comfortable ignorance. My pulse thundered in my ears. I stepped through the door. The studio stole my breath. Canvases covered every wall, dozens of them, some finished, others half complete. Faces stared back at me from the paintings, each one rendered with devastating skill. A young man with hollow eyes, an elderly woman mid-scream, a child's face, tear-streaked and terrified. Every painting was a portrait of pain. My family's legacy, Luca said from the piano bench, his voice flat. 3 generations of Moretti's building power on broken lives. I moved deeper into the room, drawn to a canvas showing a teenager, bruised and defeated. The technique was masterful, every shadow precisely placed, every emotion brutally honest. You painted all of these. Everyone. He stood, moving to stand beside me. Their names are on the back. Maria Castellano, age 16. My father's men beat her brother to death for stealing from a Moretti warehouse. He was trying to feed his family. The casual way he delivered such horror made my stomach twist. Why paint them? Because someone should remember. His jaw tightened. Someone should see what we did. What my family did. He gestured to the walls. I inherited an empire built on suffering. I can't undo it. But I can document it. Bear witness. I turned to face him. The museum. You said you were guarding something. My grandfather stole art during Prohibition. Priceless pieces taken from families we destroyed. He moved to another canvas, this one showing the burned remains of a building. I've spent 10 years quietly returning them through the museum. Anonymous donations, restorations. It's not redemption, but it's something. The vulnerability in his admission cracked something open in my chest. This wasn't the cold crime lord from this morning. This was a man carrying inherited guilt like stones in his pockets. The woman in the painting at the museum, I pressed. Who was she? His expression shuddered. Someone who didn't deserve what happened to her. Luca, that's all you need to know. He turned away, but I caught his arm. No. You brought me into this world. You can't keep me in the dark about why. For a long moment, he stared at where my hand touched his sleeve. When he looked up, something raw flickered in his eyes. Her name was Amelia Donovan. Vincent Donovan's daughter. His voice was barely above a whisper. She died in crossfire between our families 5 years ago. 23 years old, art student, nothing to do with the business. Just wrong place, wrong time. The pieces clicked together. The Donovans think you killed her. They know it was my men's bullets. Even though we were defending territory they'd invaded. He pulled away from my touch. Vincent has never forgiven it. Never will. When he saw you stumble into that room, saw me painting his daughter's face, he thought history was repeating itself. Worse. He thought I was taunting him. Luca's hands clenched into fists. That's why the price on your head is so high. You're not just a witness anymore. You're a symbol. I looked back at the paintings, at Amelia's half-finished face among the others, and something in me understood. This wasn't just penance. It was obsession. An artist trying to resurrect the dead through paint and canvas. They're beautiful, I whispered, moving to a portrait of an old man, eyes kind despite his circumstances. Terrible and beautiful. I've never seen anything like them. Most people can't look at them. Luca's voice came from directly behind me now. They see the pain and turn away. I see the humanity. I traced the air near the canvas, careful not to touch. You don't paint them as victims. You paint them as people. Complex, real, worthy of being remembered. Silence stretched between us. Then his hand settled on my waist, warm and possessive, his breath against my ear. She's mine now, he murmured. I froze, heart hammering. What? The painting? His thumb traced small circles against my hip through the thin fabric of my borrowed clothes. When someone understands a piece the way you do, sees what the artist intended, it belongs to them as much as me. But his hand didn't move. His body remained close, radiating heat. Just the painting? I whispered. The silence that followed felt alive, dangerous. I don't know anymore, he admitted, his voice rough. You walked into my secret, Sophia. Saw the part of me I show no one. And instead of running, instead of judging, you understand. I should step away. Should remind him I was here against my will. Should do anything except lean back slightly into his solid warmth. Understanding doesn't mean I'm yours, I managed. His other hand came up, gently turning me to face him. His eyes were dark, intense, searching mine, doesn't it? His thumb brushed my cheek. You're standing in my studio at 2 a.m., looking at my soul laid bare on canvas, and you're still here. Still looking at me like I'm more than the monster everyone knows. Maybe you are more. The words escaped before I could stop them. Something fierce and possessive blazed in his expression. Careful, Sophia. That kind of thinking is dangerous. So is keeping me here. I know, his forehead nearly touched mine. Close enough that I could count his heartbeats in the pulse at his throat. But I'm a selfish man. And now that you've seen this, seen me, I don't think I can let you go. The confession should have terrified me. Instead, it made something in my chest ache with dangerous possibility. The painting, I said weakly, gesturing to Amelia's portrait. You never finished it. I couldn't. His hands dropped and he stepped back, breaking the spell. Every time I try, I see Vincent's face. See the war that's coming because of one dead girl and my inability to let her rest. I looked between him and the canvas. What if finishing it could end this? His eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Art history. It's what I study. My mind raced, forming a desperate plan. What if the painting itself could be the peace offering? Show Vincent you're not taunting him. You're mourning her too. For a moment, hope flickered across Luca's face. Then it died. He'd never believe it. He might. If someone he trusted told him, I met his gaze. Let me help you finish it. Let me help end this. Absolutely not. I'm already in danger. You said so yourself. I moved closer, emboldened. Let me be part of the solution instead of just the problem. Lucas stared at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. Then slowly he smiled, a real smile that transformed his entire face. You're either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Can't I be both? His laugh was low, genuine, and it did dangerous things to my resolve. All right, Sophia-chan. Tomorrow we paint. He turned toward the door, then paused. But understand this. The moment you pick up a brush in this studio, the moment you help me create something, you're not just a guest anymore. You're complicit. You're part of my world. Maybe that's what I'm choosing. He looked back, and the intensity in his gaze made my breath catch. Then welcome to the darkness, little bird. Let's see if your wings can survive it. 3 days passed in a strange rhythm. Dawn brought coffee and canvas. Luca painted while I sketched preliminary studies for Amelia's portrait, learning the planes of her face from photographs Isabella provided. We worked in comfortable silence, broken only by requests for opinion. Does this shadow read true? Should her eyes hold more sorrow or more defiance? The studio became our shared sanctuary. Tell me about your father, I said on the 4th morning, charcoal smudging my fingers as I worked. About inheriting all this. Luca's brush paused mid-stroke. For a long moment, I thought he wouldn't answer. He was a brutal man. His voice was carefully neutral. Believed power came from fear, from making examples. By the time I was 16, I'd seen things that would give you nightmares. Did you want this life? I wanted to build things, create beauty. He gestured at the canvases surrounding us. I got accepted to an art institute in Florence, had my bags packed, plane ticket bought. Then my father had a heart attack. Died in his office mid-sentence, probably threatening someone. The bitterness in his tone made my chest ache. And you stayed. Someone had to. He returned to painting, but his strokes were harder now. The empire would have collapsed. Rivals would have moved in. People depending on Moretti protection would have been slaughtered. So I stayed, learned the business, became what he'd always wanted me to be. I set down my charcoal, moving to stand beside him, except she didn't. Not entirely. You paint. You return stolen art. You document your family's sins instead of just perpetuating them. His eyes met mine, something vulnerable flickering there. Sometimes I wonder if that makes it worse. Knowing what I am, but doing it anyway. It makes you human. The word hung between us, weighted with meaning. His hand found mine, fingers intertwining, charcoal and paint mixing on our skin. What about you? He asked softly. What dreams did Sophia-chan put aside? I leaned against the work table, not pulling my hand away. My parents immigrated from Taiwan when I was 2. Worked themselves to exhaustion so I could have opportunities. My mother wanted me to be a doctor. Practical, stable, successful. But you wanted art. I wanted to give voice to artists nobody saw. Immigrants, minorities, people whose work gets overlooked because they don't fit traditional narratives. I smiled sadly. My mother got sick my senior year, breast cancer. I stayed close, worked security to pay bills, started grad school part-time. She died 3 years ago, still hoping I'd switch to pre-med. Luca's thumb traced circles on my palm. She would have been proud of who you became. I'm a security guard writing a thesis nobody will. Read. You're a woman who sees beauty in darkness, who looks at a criminal's guilty conscience and finds humanity worth saving. His free hand came up to cup my cheek. That's not nothing, Sophia. The tenderness in his touch made my heart race. We were standing too close, the morning sun painting us both gold, surrounded by ghosts and unfinished portraits. "Luca," I whispered, "what happens when this is over? When the Donovans are handled and I'm not in danger anymore?" His expression shuttered. "We'll discuss it then. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." He pulled away, and the loss of his warmth felt like abandonment. "I don't make promises I can't keep, so I just disappear from your life. Pretend none of this happened." The flash of pain across his face was brief but unmistakable. "Would that be so terrible? Going back to your real life?" "I don't know what's real anymore." The confession escaped before I could stop it. 3 days ago, I thought I knew who I was. Now I'm standing in a mafia boss's studio, helping him paint his way toward redemption. And I stopped myself. The word's too dangerous to speak. But Luca heard what I didn't say. He always did. "Don't," he said, voice rough. "Don't fall for me, Sophia. I'm not someone you can save. Maybe I don't want to save you." I met his eyes, reckless with truth. "Maybe I just want to understand you. Understanding me is dangerous. So is everything else about this situation." A knock at the door broke the tension. Isabella entered, her expression grim. "We have a problem," she said. "The Donovans just hit the gallery on Michigan Avenue. 3 dead, building on fire. They left a message." She handed Luca her phone. The color drained from his face as he read. "What is it?" I moved closer, but he turned the screen away. "They know you're helping me." His voice was ice and fury. "They're demanding I hand you over by midnight tomorrow, or they'll burn down every Moretti property in Chicago." With people inside, my blood turned to ice. How could they possibly know? Because I have a traitor. Luca's jaw clenched. "Someone close enough to know you're here, to know what we're doing in this studio." His eyes swept to Isabella. "Lock down the building. No one in or out. I want every staff member investigated. Now." Isabella nodded and disappeared. Luca turned back to me, and for the first time since I'd met him, I saw fear in his eyes. Not for himself. For me. "I won't let them have you," he said. "Even if I have to burn the city down myself." The possessiveness in his declaration should have frightened me. Instead, it made me realize just how deep I'd already fallen, and how much danger that put us both in. The explosion shook the building at 3 a.m. I jolted awake, heart hammering, as alarms shrieked through the penthouse. Isabella burst into my room, gun drawn, pulling me from bed. "Stay low, move." Her voice was combat sharp, nothing like the composed guard I'd come to know. "What's happening?" Donovan sent his answer. She rushed me to an interior room, no windows, reinforced door, emergency supplies. Through the chaos, I caught glimpses of Luca on his phone, his face a mask of cold fury I'd never seen before. The artist was gone. The warlord had taken his place. "How many?" demanded into the phone. A pause. "Survivors?" Another pause, longer this time. His knuckles whitened around the device. "Burn their operations on the south side. All of them. Tonight." When he ended the call, his eyes found mine across the room. For a moment, something almost like regret flickered there. Then the mask returned. "Isabella, no one leaves this floor. Sophia doesn't go near windows. Understood?" "Yes, sir." He left without another word. 24 hours passed. I was confined to my wing. Isabella, a constant shadow. Through overheard phone conversations and TERS updates, I pieced together the horror. A Moretti-owned gallery across town, demolished. 3 employees dead. The message spray-painted on the rubble. "The girl or the city burns." Luca didn't come to the studio. Didn't come at all. I tried painting alone, but my hands shook too badly. 3 people dead because of me. Because I'd walked through the wrong door, seen the wrong thing, become the wrong person's obsession. Late the second night, I heard voices in the hallway. Male, tense, discussing something in rapid Italian. I pressed my ear to the door. "The Caravaggio is what they really want," someone said. "The girl is just leverage. Then they'll be disappointed. That was Luca's, voice like winter. They'll never find it. Sir, if they think she knows the location, she doesn't. And they won't get the chance to ask her. Footsteps retreated. I pulled away from the door, mind racing. Caravaggio, the master painter, centuries dead. Why would the Donovans want? The door opened. Luca stood there, still in the same clothes from 2 days ago, exhaustion carved into his features. But it was his hands that stopped my breath. Blood stained his knuckles, split skin across 3 fingers. You're hurt, I said. It's handled. Your hands, I said, it's handled. But his voice cracked slightly on the last word. I grabbed his wrist before he could leave, pulling him into my room. He could have resisted, was stronger, more dangerous. Instead, he let me lead him to the bathroom. Sit, I pointed to the counter edge. For once, he obeyed. I ran warm water, found first aid supplies Isabella had left. His hands trembled slightly as I cleaned the blood away, his and someone else's, I suspected. 3 people died, I whispered, dabbing antiseptic on split knuckles. Because of me. Because of the Donovans. His voice was tight. Because Vincent can't let go of his dead daughter. Because this city runs on blood and always has. What's the Caravaggio? His eyes snapped to mine. You were listening. I'm trapped here. What else am I supposed to do? I wrapped gauze around his hand with careful precision. Tell me what's really happening. For a long moment he said nothing. Then, my grandfather stole a lost Caravaggio in 1925, Judith and Holofernes. A masterpiece, everyone thought, destroyed in a fire. It's worth 200 million, maybe more. The number stole my breath. The Donovans think you know where I've hidden it. His good hand came up to cut my cheek. They think I've told you my secrets. That you're more to me than just a witness I'm protecting. Am I? The question escaped before I could stop it. His thumb traced my lower lip, and I saw something break in his eyes. All the control, all the careful distance, crumbling. I'm terrified, he admitted, voice raw, of what they'll do to you if they get their hands on you. I've seen what they do to leverage, Sophia. I've seen people broken, destroyed, turned into warnings. And the thought of them touching you, hurting you. He stopped, jaw clenched. But I understood what he couldn't say. This wasn't about protecting a witness anymore. Maybe it never had been. I'm not afraid, I lied, continuing to bandage his hands. You should be. Of them. Of me. Of this whole situation. He caught my wrist, stilling my movements. I've killed for you, Sophia. Tonight, I put bullets in 2 men because they threatened you. And I'd do it again without hesitation. The confession should have horrified me. Should have sent me running. Instead, I leaned forward and pressed my forehead to his. Then we end this, I whispered. Together, whatever it takes. His arms came around me, pulling me between his legs, holding me like I was the only solid thing in a collapsing world. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. I pulled back to meet his eyes. Use me as bait. Let them think I'll lead them to the Caravaggio. We trap them. End this war. No. The word was absolute. Won't risk you like that. You're already risking innocent people. That gallery, those 3 dead. How many more before this ends? As many as it takes to keep you safe. The possessive declaration hung between us, brutal in its honesty. That's not your choice to make, I said. Yes, it is. His hands framed my face. You became mine the moment I decided to protect you. And I protect what's mine, Sophia, at any cost. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He checked it, and every muscle in his body went rigid. What? He showed me the screen. A photo. Mrs. Delgado, my thesis advisor, bound to a chair, terror in her eyes. The message below. Trade by dawn or she's next. My world tilted. No, I breathed. No, not her. Please. I'll handle it. Luca stood, already moving. Wait. I grabbed his arm. What are you going to do? He looked back, and in his eyes I saw the monster everyone feared. Whatever I have to. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. Images of Mrs. Delgado kind. Patient Mrs. Delgado, who'd stayed late countless nights helping me with research, haunted every time I closed my eyes. At dawn, I found Luca in his study, surrounded by maps and photographs, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. His eyes were bloodshot, jaw dark with stubble. He looked like a man at war, because he was. "She's alive," he said when he ended the call, not looking at me. "They're holding her at a warehouse in Pilsen, abandoned meatpacking district. Then let's go get her. We aren't doing anything. My team will extract her, while the Donovans wait for me to show up." I moved into his line of sight. "This is a trap, Luca. They want you to send men so they can slaughter them. I'm aware. Then let me go." "Let me know." The word cracked like a whip. "I've told you. You've told me I'm yours to protect. That you won't risk me. That you'll burn the city down before letting them touch me." My voice rose. "But Mrs. Delgado is burning because of me, Luca. How many more people have to die?" He stood abruptly, the map scattering. "As many as it takes. That's not good enough. It's all I have." He closed the distance between us, fury and desperation warring in his expression. "Don't you understand? I can replace soldiers. I can rebuild properties. But you—" His hands gripped my shoulders. "If something happens to you, if they take you, hurt you, I can't." "Why?" I demanded, pushing against his chest. "Why do you care this much about someone you've known for days?" "Because you saw me." The confession exploded from him. "Not Luca Moretti, the crime lord. Not the monster everyone fears. You saw the artist, the part of me I thought I'd buried with my father. You stood in my studio and understood my work, understood me, in a way no one ever has." His forehead dropped to mine, breath ragged. "You walked into my secret and didn't run," he whispered. "And now I can't let you go." My heart hammered against my ribs. "Then trust me. Trust me enough to let me help end this. I can't lose you. You won't." I framed his face with my hands, forcing him to meet my eyes. "But you'll lose yourself if you keep sacrificing innocent people for me. Is that what you want? To become exactly what your father was?" Pain lanced across his features. "Use me as bait," I pressed. "Let the Donovans think I'll trade myself for Mrs. Delgado. We set the trap. Your men surround them. They'll kill you the moment they have you. Not if they think I know where the Caravaggio is." My mind raced, the plan crystallizing. "Tell them I'll lead them to it after Mrs. Delgado is safe. They won't risk killing their only lead." Luca pulled back, studying me with those artist's eyes that saw too much. "You're serious?" "I'm terrified. I'm also done being helpless." I straightened my shoulders. "Let me be your partner in this, not just something you protect. Let me help fix what my stumbling into your life broke." For a long moment, he said nothing. Then his hand slid to the back of my neck, pulling me against him. His kiss was desperate, claiming, a man drowning and finding air. I melted into him, arms wrapping around his neck, pouring every complicated feeling of the past days into the contact. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes blazed with something fierce and possessive. "You're mine," he said roughly. "Not a tool, not collateral, not bait. Mine. Do you understand?" "Yes. And I protect what's mine." His thumb traced my jaw. "Which means if we do this, if I agree to this insane plan, you follow my lead exactly. No improvisation. No heroics. The moment things go wrong, you run. I won't leave you. You will." His grip tightened. "Promise me, Sophia. Promise me that if it comes down to you or me, you choose yourself." The intensity in his gaze told me this was non-negotiable. "I promise," I whispered. He kissed me again, gentler this time, like sealing a pact. When he pulled away, the warlord was back, but something had shifted. His eyes held a new determination. "All right." He returned to the desk, pulling up maps on his tablet. "We do this together. But on my terms." I joined him, and for the first time since waking in his penthouse, I felt like an equal rather than a prisoner. "The warehouse has 3 entrances," he explained, marking them. "Isabella's team will secure the north and east. I'll have shooters on the rooftops here and here." You'll enter from the south with Marco. With you, I corrected. His jaw tightened. Sophia, together, or not at all? A muscle ticked in his cheek. Then, surprisingly, he smiled, small but genuine. You're going to be the death of me, little bird, not if I save you first. We spent the next 3 hours planning every detail. Luca made call after call, moving pieces on his chessboard of power. I watched him work, seeing both the monster and the man, understanding finally that they weren't separate entities. They were both Luca, the artist who painted penance, and the warlord who protected what he loved with blood. And somehow, impossibly, I'd become what he loved. As afternoon sun slanted through the windows, Luca pulled me against his side, pressing a kiss to my temple. After tonight, he said quietly, if we survive this, I'm finishing that painting, Amelia's portrait, and then I'm starting a new one. Of what? His eyes met mine, dark and full of promise. Of you. Of the woman who saw the monster and stayed anyway. My throat tightened with emotion I couldn't name. We should rest, he continued. Tonight will be hell. Luca? I stopped him as he turned toward the door. What happens after? When the Donovans are done and I'm safe? He looked back, and for once he didn't evade. That depends on you, Sophia. On whether you want to go back to your old life, or... He paused. Or build a new one. With me. The offer hung between us, weighted with everything unsaid. Before I could answer, his phone buzzed. He checked it, and his expression darkened. They've moved up the timeline. Exchange happens at midnight. 4 hours from now. My pulse thundered. Then we'd better get ready. As we moved to prepare for the most dangerous night of our lives, I realized I already knew my answer to his question. I was choosing him. Choosing this dangerous, complicated, impossible life. Because some doors once walked through change you forever. And I didn't want to go back to who I was before. The warehouse stank of rust and old blood. Industrial lights cast harsh shadows across concrete floors stained with decades of slaughter, animal and, I suspected, human. My pulse hammered in my throat as Luca's hand pressed against my lower back, guiding me forward. You don't have to do this, he murmured one last time. Yes, I do. Around us, his men positioned themselves in darkness, shadows with guns, waiting for his signal. Isabella's voice crackled softly through the earpiece hidden beneath my hair. North entrance secured. We have visual on 3 hostiles. Only 3? My stomach knotted. The Donovans had brought an army to the gallery. Why so few now? Because it's a trap, my mind whispered. They know we're coming. In the warehouse center, harsh light illuminated a metal chair. Mrs. Delgado sat bound to it, her grey hair disheveled, glasses cracked but alive. Relief and guilt crashed through me in equal measure. Mrs. Delgado. I started forward, but Luca's grip tightened. Wait. A figure emerged from the shadows opposite us. Tall, lean, with sharp features and cold eyes. This had to be Marcus Donovan, Vincent's nephew, and Underboss. 2 men flanked him, weapons visible. The girl who sees things she shouldn't, Marcus said, his voice carrying across the space. And the artist who paints his sins. How poetic. Release her, Luca commanded. The exchange was for Sophia, not a standoff. Marcus smiled. Oh, we'll release the old woman, but first... He pulled something from his pocket. A small electronic device. I need you to remove whatever wires you're wearing, Miss Chun, and Mr. Moretti's earpiece as well. My blood turned to ice. I don't know what you... Please. You think we're amateurs? Marcus's smile widened. Radio frequency detector. You're broadcasting on 3 channels. Very thorough. Now strip the wires or Mrs. Delgado loses a finger. One of his men pulled out pliers, moving toward my advisor. No. I reached for the wire taped to my ribs, but Luca caught my wrist. This wasn't the deal, Luca said, his voice deadly soft. The deal changed when you tried to trap us. Marcus gestured impatiently. Wires. Now, or she bleeds. Luca's jaw clenched. Then slowly he removed his earpiece, crushing it beneath his heel. I fumbled with the wire beneath my shirt, hands shaking, finally pulling it free, kicked them away. We complied. Marcus nodded to his man, who smashed the devices. We were cut off from Isabella's team, isolated. Better, Marcus said. Now, Miss Chun, you're going to tell me where the Caravaggio is hidden. I don't lie. You've been in his penthouse for days, in his studio. You're not just a hostage, you're his confidant. His lover, perhaps? His eyes gleamed. Men like Moretti don't keep women close without reason. So tell me, where is the painting? My mind raced. I had no idea where the Caravaggio was. Luca had never told me specifics. But then I remembered fragments of overheard conversations. The way Luca spoke about the painting, it hangs where I can see it every day, hidden in plain sight. The studio. It had to be in the studio. But why would he keep something worth 200 million in the open? Unless he wasn't. I'll take you to it, I heard myself say. After Mrs. Delgado is freed. Sophia. No, Luca started, but Marcus cut him off. You're in no position to bargain, Moretti. The girl takes us to the painting, then we decide who lives and who dies. That wasn't the deal. My voice cracked. The deal is whatever I say it is. Marcus pulled a gun, aiming it at Mrs. Delgado's head. You have 10 seconds to agree, or I paint these walls with her brain. 10, 9, 8, stop. Desperation clawed at my throat. I'll take you there. Just please, let her go. Please. Marcus studied me, then nodded. All right, we'll go together. You, me, and enough men to ensure no heroics. He gestured to his men. Secure Moretti. If he moves, kill him. No. I lunged forward, but Marcus grabbed my arm, yanking me back. The girl comes with me, he said. Moretti stays here as insurance. Anyone follows us. Anyone tries to interfere. He pressed his gun barrel against my temple. She dies. Luca's expression was murder incarnate. Touch her and I'll. You'll what? You're surrounded and outgunned. Marcus smiled. Face it, Moretti. You lost the moment you let yourself care about her. Vincent sends his regards. More men emerged from the shadows, at least a dozen, weapons trained on Luca and his scattered team. We'd been completely outmaneuvered. Sophia. Luca's eyes locked with mine, raw with fear and fury. Don't do this. I have to. My voice broke. Mrs. Delgado will be released once we have the painting, Marcus promised smoothly. You have my word. The word of a man who'd already burned people alive meant nothing. But what choice did I have? As Marcus dragged me toward the exit, I looked back at Luca. He stood frozen, every muscle coiled, half a dozen guns trained on him. In his eyes, I saw absolute terror, not for himself, but for me. I'm sorry I'm out. Then Marcus shoved me into an SUV and we were moving, racing toward the penthouse. Toward Luca's sanctuary. Toward whatever hell awaited when Marcus discovered I was gambling everything on a guess about where the Caravaggio was hidden. If I was wrong, we'd both die tonight. If I was right, I was about to lead wolves into the one place Luca considered sacred. God, let me be right. The elevator ride to the penthouse felt eternal. Marcus kept his gun pressed against my ribs, 3 of his men crowding the space. My mind raced through possibilities, prayers, desperate hopes that Luca had somehow tracked us. But the streets had been empty. No pursuit, no rescue. I was on my own. Which floor? Marcus demanded. 42. My voice was steadier than I felt. The studio is in the west wing. Private access. The elevator doors opened onto silence. Marcus shoved me forward, his men fanning out, checking corners. The penthouse was dark, empty. Where was Isabella? Where were the guards? Move, Marcus ordered. I led them through hallways I'd memorized, past the library, the dining room, toward the double doors that marked Luca's sanctuary. My hands trembled as I pushed them open. The studio lay exactly as we'd left, its easels scattered, the scent of paint and turpentine, canvases covering every wall. Marcus's men swept the room, confirming it was empty. Well? Marcus pressed the gun harder against my spine. Where is it? I moved toward the painting I'd been studying for, Days Amelia Donovan's half-finished portrait. My heart hammered as I reached for the canvas. He was restoring it, I said, turning the painting around. The Caravaggio was damaged. Luca was incorporating it into his own work, hiding it by making it part of something new. Marcus stepped closer, examining the back of the canvas. For a moment, nothing. Then his breath caught. Beneath Luca's modern portrait, visible through careful areas where paint had been removed, was the unmistakable hand of a master. Judith and Holofernes, the lost Caravaggio, its dramatic chiaroscuro bleeding through layers of contemporary work. My God, Marcus breathed. He was painting over it. Protecting it, I corrected. Hidden in plain sight. Marcus laughed, a sharp, delighted sound. Vincent will be thrilled. Not only do we get the painting, but we get to destroy Moretti's precious art in the process. He gestured to his men. Take it. Carefully. They moved toward the canvas. Then the lights went out. Gunfire erupted from every direction. Marcus grabbed me, knife suddenly at my throat as muzzle flashes lit the studio in strobing horror. His men dropped 1, 2, 3 as Luca's forces poured in from hidden positions. Stop! Marcus's shout cut through the chaos. Stop, or I cut her throat. The shooting ceased. Emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in red. Lucas stood in the doorway, gun raised, his face a mask of cold fury. But his hands shook, barely perceptible, but there. Behind him, Isabella and a dozen men held position, weapons trained on Marcus. Let her go, Lucas said, his voice barely above a whisper. This is between you and me, is it? Marcus's breath was hot against my ear, the knife biting into my skin. I felt blood trickle down my neck. Because, from where I stand, this is about you caring about something for once. About having a weakness we can exploit. I'll give you anything. Luca lowered his gun slowly. The Caravaggio. Every painting in this room. My territory, my businesses. Take it all. Just let her go. The desperation in his voice cracked something in my chest. You'd really give up everything? Marcus sounded almost surprised. Your empire for one girl? Yes. No hesitation. She's worth more than all of it. Marcus's grip loosened fractionally, considering in that split second I remembered every self-defense class I'd taken for my security job. Remembered Isabella's words weeks ago, create distance, drop your weight, twist toward the knife arm. I dropped. The knife sliced air where my throat had been. I twisted hard, driving my elbow into Marcus's ribs. He grunted, grip failing. The gunshot was deafening. Marcus crumpled, Isabella's smoking weapon trained where his head had been. I scrambled away, and suddenly Luca was there, pulling me against him, his hands frantically checking for injuries. You're bleeding, he said roughly, fingers gentle on my neck where the knife had cut. It's shallow. I'm okay. He kissed me. Desperate, claiming, a man who'd stared into the abyss of losing everything that mattered. I melted into him, tasting fear and relief, and something deeper. When he pulled back, his forehead pressed to mine. Never again, he whispered. I will never risk you like that again. Around us, his men secured the scene. Marcus groaned on the floor, Isabella already calling for medical. They'd wounded, not killed. Evidence, leverage, smarter than revenge. The Caravaggio, I said, suddenly remembering. Luca glanced at the portrait, still standing on its easel. Was never in that painting. I stared at him. What? The restoration work was real, but on a different canvas. That was a decoy. A small smile touched his lips. I knew if the Donovans ever got this far, they'd look for the obvious hiding place. The real Caravaggio is in a vault 3 states away. You've gambled with my life on a fake? I gambled that my men would be in position before he could hurt you. That Isabella's team would track your movement. That you'd trust me enough to play along. His thumb traced my cheekbone. Was I wrong? I should have been furious. Should have pushed him away. Instead, I kissed him again. You're insane, I murmured against his lips. About you. Absolutely. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Real police this time, not ones on Moretti payroll. The Donovans' attack on a residential building, kidnapping, attempted murder, even Chicago's corrupt force would have to respond. What happens now? I asked. Luca looked around his studio, bullet holes in walls, blood on floors, the sanctuary violated but still standing. Now? He pulled me closer. Now we finish what we started. The painting, the peace, the life we're choosing. His eyes found mine. If you still want it. Emergency lights painted us both red, surrounded by ghosts and art and the debris of violence. I thought of my old life. Safe, predictable, invisible. Then I thought of this dangerous, complicated, but undeniably real. I want it, I whispered. I want you. His smile was sunrise breaking through darkness. Then you're mine, little bird. And I'm yours. For however long we have. Forever, I thought. Let it be forever. Dawn broke over Chicago, painting the skyline in shades of rose and gold. I stood at the studio windows, wrapped in one of Luca's shirts, watching the city wake. Behind me, workers quietly repaired bullet holes, replaced shattered glass, erasing evidence of last night's violence with practiced efficiency. Some stains, I'd learned, never fully disappeared. You just painted over them and moved forward. You should be resting. Luca's voice came from the doorway. I turned. He looked exhausted, still in last night's clothes, blood on his sleeve, shadows under his eyes. But alive. We were both alive. Couldn't sleep, I admitted. Mrs. Delgado. Safe. Isabella took her to a secure location. We've arranged protection, a new identity if she wants it. He moved closer, his hand settling at my waist like he needed to confirm I was real. The Donovans, Vincent called an hour ago. Marcus's arrest, combined with evidence we've provided to the FBI, has decimated their operations. He's requesting peace talks. Will you meet with him? Luca's jaw tightened. If it means keeping you safe, I'd meet with the devil himself. I leaned into his warmth, breathing in paint and sandalwood. It's really over? The immediate threat, yes. His arms encircled me fully. But this life, Sophia, there's always another threat, another rival, another problem. It never truly ends. The warning was clear. This was my chance to walk away, to return to my safe, ordinary existence. I looked around the studio, at the canvases documenting pain and redemption, at Amelia's portrait still standing despite last night's chaos, at the space where Luca had shown me his soul. What happens to me now? I asked quietly. Your men have been calling me Miss Chun, very formal, very temporary. Luca pulled back to meet my eyes. That's because I told them the choice was yours. Your apartment is waiting. I've arranged security regardless of your decision. You'll never be unprotected. But whether you want that protection from a distance, or, he paused, or from here, that's up to you. My heart hammered. You're asking me to choose. I'm giving you the freedom I took away. His thumb traced my cheekbone. 10 days ago, I forced you into my world. Kept you here against your will. I can't build something real on that foundation. So this is goodbye? Pain flickered in his eyes. Only if you want it to be. I moved to Amelia's portrait, studying the half-finished face. You'd never completed it. I couldn't. Every time I tried, I saw last night, Marcus's knife at your throat. You bleeding because of my world. His voice roughened. Maybe some paintings aren't meant to be finished, or maybe they need the right person to complete them. I turned back to him. You said after this, you'd paint me. Was that true, or just something to say in the moment? It was true. He crossed to me in 3 strides. Every word. I want to paint you, Sophia. Want to capture how you look in morning light, how you see beauty in darkness, how you walked into my cage and somehow set me free instead of getting trapped yourself. Then paint me. I took his hand, still bandaged from violence, still capable of creating beauty, not as a guest, not as someone you're protecting, as your partner, your equal. You'd really stay? Disbelief and hope warred in his expression. After everything? After seeing what this life costs? I'd stay because of everything. I squeezed his hands. You showed me who you really are, Luca. Not just the monster Chicago fears, but the artist who paints penance. The man who'd give up his empire to save one life. The person who sees me, really sees me, for the first time in my life. I see a woman too brave for her own good, he said softly. Too beautiful for someone like me to deserve. Too perfect to be real. I'm not perfect. I'm terrified. I have no idea what I'm doing. I laughed shakily. I'm a grad student choosing to live with a crime lord. My thesis advisor will think I've lost my mind. Have you? Probably. I rose on my toes, lips brushing his. But I'm choosing it anyway. Choosing you. Choosing this impossible, dangerous, beautiful life we could build together. His kiss was tender this time, reverent, like I was something precious rather than something to claim. When we broke apart, tears shone in his eyes. I love you, he whispered. I know it's too soon, too complicated, too everything. But I love you. Sophia-chan, you walked into my darkness and brought light I didn't know I was missing. My throat tightened with emotion. I love you too. God help me, but I do. He pulled me against him, and we stood there as sunrise painted the studio gold, surrounded by ghosts and art, and the promise of something new. So what now? I asked against his chest. Now? He pressed a kiss to my hair. Now I finish Amelia's portrait. Make peace with Vincent Donovan. Try to earn the gift you've given me. And then? Then I start a new painting. His hand tilted my chin up. My redemption. My muse. My partner in all things. Even the dangerous things. Especially those. You've proven you can handle them. He smiled. Genuine. Warm. Transforming his entire face. Besides, I suspect you'll keep me from becoming my father. Keep reminding me there's more to life than power and fear. Someone has to. Then stay, little bird. Stay and help me build something better than what I inherited. Something worthy of you. I thought of everything I'd be giving up. The safe life. The predictable future. The version of myself I'd been before walking through that wrong door. Then I thought of everything I'd be gaining: passion, purpose, a love that terrified and exhilarated me in equal measure. I'm staying, I said, not as your captive, as your choice. And you're mine. Always, he promised. Outside the windows, Chicago glittered in morning light, beautiful and brutal, just like the man who held me. I'd found home in the most unexpected place, in an artist's arms, in a monster's heart. In a life I never knew I wanted until it claimed me. And I'd never been more certain of anything in my life. 6 months later, the Castellana Museum's new wing gleamed under carefully calibrated lighting. I adjusted the placard beside a 17th-century landscape, checking the description one final time. Return to public trust through the Moretti Restorative Justice Initiative. Originally taken from the Castellano family, 1924. You're fussing, Luca's voice came from behind me. It's perfect. I turned to find him in a dark suit, hands in pockets. Looking every inch the distinguished benefactor, rather than the crime lord the city whispered about. 6 months, and he still stole my breath. Big night, I said. I'm allowed to fuss. He crossed to me, adjusting my collar with the careful attention he gave his paintings. The curator of Chicago's most progressive repatriation program doesn't fuss, she commands. I'd finished my thesis 3 months ago. Dr. Chan now, though the title still felt surreal. The museum had offered me a position, immediately co-curator of the Moretti collection, documenting and displaying the art his family had stolen, telling the stories of those they'd hurt, penance through beauty, redemption through truth. Is he here yet? I asked. Luca nodded toward the entrance. Psst. Vincent arrived 10 minutes ago. He's been standing in front of it since. My stomach fluttered. Tonight was the collection's public opening, but one painting had been unveiled privately, for one man who needed to see it most. We walked through galleries filled with restored pieces, each one a story of theft and return. In the final room, Vincent Donovan stood alone before a large canvas, his silver hair catching the light. Amelia's portrait, finally completed. Luca had painted her as she'd been young, vibrant, full of dreams cut short. No sorrow, no accusation, just a girl who'd loved art, captured in the moment before tragedy. I'd helped with the final details, the light in her eyes, the suggestion of a smile. "It's beautiful," Vincent said without turning. His voice was thick. She would have loved it. "I'm sorry," Luca said simply, "for my part in her death, for the years of war, for everything our family's hatred cost both of us." Vincent turned, and I saw tears on his weathered face. "She was supposed to be an artist. Like you. Like your—" he gestured to me. "Like Dr. Chun. She was supposed to have a life." "I can't give that back," Luca acknowledged. "But I can make sure she's remembered, that her story is told." "Why?" Vincent's question was raw. "After everything, why do this?" Luca's hand found mine. "Because someone taught me that holding on to the past destroys the future. That art can heal what violence breaks. That sometimes the bravest thing is choosing to let go." Vincent looked between us, understanding dawning. "You love her. The girl from that night." "With everything I am," Luca said. A long silence. Then Vincent extended his hand. "Thank you for this. For her. For trying to make it right." Luca shook it. Two old enemies finding peace over a painting. Over art, over shared loss, finally acknowledged. As Vincent left, I leaned against Luca, exhausted and exhilarated. "One more thing to show you," he said, leading me to a private viewing room off the main gallery. Inside, a single painting waited on an easel, covered in cloth. "Is this your portrait?" Finally finished, he pulled the cloth away. I gasped. He'd painted me in the studio, surrounded by Amelia's painting, the Caravaggio research, brushes in my hands. But I wasn't looking at the canvas. I was looking up. Toward light streaming through windows, my expression caught between wonder and determination. "My redemption," he'd titled it. "I look brave," I whispered. "You are brave." He moved behind me, arms encircling my waist. "You walked into darkness and decided to stay. Decided to help me build something better than what I inherited." It was true. The Moretti Empire had shifted, still powerful, still complicated, but less violent. More legitimate businesses, fewer wars. Luca still made hard choices, still lived in shades of grey. But we faced them together. "What do you see?" I asked, turning in his arms. "When you look at me?" "My future," he said simply. "The life I didn't know I could have until you stumbled through that wrong door." I laughed, wrapping my arms around his neck. "Best mistake I ever made." "Mine too, little bird." He kissed me, tender and deep, in a room filled with art and possibility. "Mine too." Outside, guests arrived for the Gala Chicago's elite, mingling with artists and activists. All come to witness what happened when you turned blood money into beauty, when you chose accountability over power. Later, I'd give my speech. Later, we'd celebrate this victory. But for now, I stood in my crime lord's arms, surrounded by paintings that told stories of pain transformed into purpose, of darkness yielding to light. I'd walked through the wrong door and found the right life. In an artist's embrace, I'd discovered home. And in choosing each other, the grad student and the gangster, the curator and the criminal, the woman who saw beauty and the man learning to create it, we'd painted our own masterpiece. One brushstroke at a time. One day at a time. Together.